kind of tell that in my interviews, because I was tired of the bullshit of professional wrestling. Things that happen behind closed doors, you don't really know what's going on. Luckily, I had some guys in the back doors that told me what was going on most of the time, but a lot of times I didn't know, you know, like that was a real thing back then, the older guys keeping the younger guys down, you know? And like when I said that I got beat my first, you know, match after turning heel, the call was made by Hulk Hogan to have me get beat.
All right, guys, we here talking about Scott Steiner. He recently did an interview with Chris Van Vliet talking about why he has so much smoke with the one and only Hulk Hogan, what you're going to do when Scott Steiner comes for you. We going to check out more about this at Toxic Ring Scandal, a.k.a. KDH here. Hey, guys, we're here at the Locker Room. Toxic Ring Scandal, a.k.a. KDH is here. Turnbuckle King, we're going to talk about why Scott Steiner hates Hulk Hogan. Get the likes as we come into the locker room. We're going to air some dirty laundry. We will talk about how Scott Steiner really feels about Hulk Hogan. Now, we know that Scott Steiner and Hulk Hogan have worked previously on 2 separate occasions. He's worked with Hulk Hogan back in WCW World Championship Wrestling, and he also worked with Hulk Hogan in TNA Total Nonstop Action. Now, Scott Steiner, we know that he is one half of the legendary tag team, if not one of the best tag teams ever, Steiner Brothers. Now, also, besides that, he also had a solo career where he is a former WCW World Heavyweight Champion. He also had a run in WWE after WCW folded. He had some feuds with Triple H on Monday Night Raw and others before leaving the company. But we know, like I said before, he's mostly known besides Single Star. He first started being one half of the great Steiner Brothers alongside his older brother, Rick Steiner. And Scott Steiner, he does not do interviews that much, but he has something to say about Hulk Hogan. He does not like Hulk Hogan. And the reason he doesn't like Hulk Hogan because the way Hulk Hogan did the politicking back in the days with WCW. For those who don't know, Hulk Hogan was not only the biggest star in WCW, you know, part of NWO, and of course a world champion, he also was a booker backstage. But we're going to hear more also, not just from Scott Steiner. We're also going to hear what his brother Rick Steiner had to say about Scott Steiner's feelings towards Hulk Hogan. Now, Rick Steiner will talk on Hannibal TV, and then we'll soon shift over to Scott Steiner and Chris Van Vliet here.
Scott and Hogan, the big restraining order thing, was there anything to that? Or was that...
Yeah, it was. You know, the thing got carried away on Twitter, and my brother, like I said, my brother just isn't going to ever back down from anybody, you know. And then he doesn't like Hogan to begin with. And he doesn't like Flair, and, you know, so my brother likes you, you're good. If you don't like you, he don't care. And he'll just do whatever he can. And, you know, my brother's been pretty successful with his money and everything. So money's never an issue for him. So when Hogan made some comments and stuff about the TNA and being down there and all that, my brother just let him have it. And then there was some things being said, and then my brother brought up some stuff that was pretty personal. It was true, but they didn't want it to come out. So and then, you know, of course, I don't know, I wasn't there. They said he said something to Hogan's new wife or new girlfriend or something. I wasn't there, I didn't see any of it, but I know Hogan, I know the legality issues of it, yet he did. There was a couple lawyers hired, and there was some stuff taken out, but my brother ain't backing down from nobody and nothing, you know, so.
And it turns out everything he said about TNA has been proven true.
Yeah, everything, you know, I think that's the funny, you know, my brother, he says it, and it is kind of raw and, you know, off whatever it is, but it's always true, or it always comes true. And so it's, you know, it's not this fictitious stuff that he made. Everything that he validates or says is comes true or is true, and sometimes just people just don't like hearing it. You know, I think that's what the heart that people have. And he's like the only one that'll say something. Everybody's worried about, oh, don't do that. You know, you'll lose this, or you won't be in the Hall of Fame. My brother don't care.
Yeah.
You know, he'll just say what he wants to say.
And he operates a restaurant now too, or something like that.
Yeah, he owns the Shoney's franchise down in Georgia, and he's got one in Florida and a couple in Georgia. Do you want to start 2 or 3 in Georgia? So, good friends with the franchisee with the Shoney's corporation there, and so he's doing well.
There, right? You turn on Rick, and then you become this other thing.
Right.
Where'd that come from?
It's just, well, it first started like, it was also 2 different personalities. Like when I first came out of college, I was like a college kid coming out, you know, happy, go lucky. But when you're wrestling for a while, you get, you know, things change. You know, setbacks, people keep you down, politics, you get pissed off. So at that point, when I turned Big Poppa Pump, I was very pissed off. And people could kind of tell that in my interviews, because I was tired of the bullshit of professional wrestling. Things that happen behind closed doors, you don't really know what's going on. Luckily, I had some guys in the back doors that told me what was going on most of the time, but a lot of times I didn't know, you know. Like, that was a real thing back then, the older guys keeping the younger guys down, you know? You know, like, when I said that I got beat my first, you know, match after turning heel, the call was made by Hulk Hogan to have me get beat. So, and the only reason I knew that, because I knew somebody that was in the vicinity of talking to him. So, which kind of pissed me off, but you can overcome wins and losses. It's all, you know, people can see your personality and what you do on camera. Wins and losses, you can overcome them. But for another wrestler to when another wrestler decides he's going to decide who wins, there's no other way you can say it. Like we did a Nitro in Buffalo, and I knew who I had to wrestle, per se, but 10 minutes before the shows go on air, 10 to 8, I didn't know if it was going to happen or not. We had to wait till Hogan got to the building and say, clear it. Yeah, you can do what they have written down. So it was like, you know, I mean, what am I going to do now? You know, it's like, but you know, I don't forget, you know, I mean, there's a reason why he got booed in California. You know, I mean, all this stuff that came out with him, you know, racist comments. Now, you would never found that out if it wasn't recorded behind, you know, closed doors. So I think a lot of people realize, you know, the perception that WWE or WCW wanted of Hulk Hogan was not really him. You know, the racist comment, and, you know, Hogan and Savage, when I was good friends of Savage, so I knew all the stories, and he used to tell me all the stuff. And it was just, you know, and then of course the one time, you know, he tried to put me in jail, you know, so, you know, I was facing a serious time. I could have been, you know, in jail for, you know, 15 years.
For what?
Well, I found out the left. I told a couple of, like, let it be known, like, next time I see him, I'm gonna slap the shit. I see him for like a year, and then I had met his wife at Backstage, but when I threw this, it was in San Jose for the WrestleMania, and there was this platinum blonde that was looking at me, and I kind of thought, oh, there's a stripper, you know. But finally, I kind of remember meeting, but I still wasn't sure, so I went up to her and said, "Are you Hulk Hogan's wife?" You know, and she said, "Yeah." And at that point, he was going to introduce Savage into the Hall of Fame, which I told her, you know, I said that, and I grabbed it was nobody heard me. It was very low key, and I didn't raise my voice or anything. Grabbed my bags and left. Well, she called Hogan. He came to the airport, and then he called the San Jose Police Department to say I slapped her, and I threatened this terroristic threats and aggravated San Jose Police Department. I mean, it was on TMZ and stuff, and luckily it happened at the airport because there were so many cameras. Otherwise, it would have been her and him against me.
Right.
So that, it would have been, a tough case in court. But since it was on camera, I told the center, don't bother me anymore. It's on camera. And they stopped. So,
Was it difficult in WCW to work with Hogan? You guys didn't?
No,
like each
because
other?
I didn't really in a whole.
Man, that man Scott, no, he does not like Hogan. Did you guys know that? That he was the one that made the call to have Scott Steiner lose a match? That's crazy. And Scott Steiner it got so frustrated that years later with Hulk Hogan's second wife, that he was so upset because he was friends with the late Macho Man Randy Savage. And he was upset that of all people to have the legendary Macho Man Randy Savage inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame back in 2015, it would be Hulk Hogan. And that really set Scott Steiner off. Now, he spoke to Hulk Hogan's wife, he said that he was going to come for receipts on Hulk Hogan next time he saw him. However, Hulk Hogan's now ex-wife, she did, however, go back and relay the information on Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan, on his end, he said that Scott Steiner was going to unalive him. And he also said, too, that he put hands on Hulk Hogan's wife at the time. And he said Scott Steiner had San Jose, California police looking for him. He said he could have really did some time for that if that was true. Luckily for Scott Steiner, there was cameras like he said and everything else. But that's messed up Hulk Hogan for coming to Scott Steiner like that. Now, one thing he did say, I agree, this is why he was booed at the Raw Netflix premiere in California, because all the backstage stuff he's done, all the recordings of the racist comments and everything, people have not forgotten about that. Now, we know that Hulk Hogan, I spoke about this before, that he was out of WWE Hall of Fame and everything, and WWE brought him back in. But Scott Steiner, he has no love lost with Hulk Hogan. Now, thing about Scott Steiner, some people in the industry do not like him. And the thing about Scott Steiner, he is a straightforward person. He has a no BS attitude, and he gonna tell you how it is. Kind of similar to CM Punk in a way. It's just Scott Steiner, he definitely got the muscle to back up what he's saying, and he will rough you up if he has to. But I would say he remind me like a CM Punk in a way, as far as speaking what he got to say. And when it comes to getting physical, more like a Rick Rude, seem like, somewhat. But I think that's why he's not liked so much. And he just not going for no nonsense, because Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner, they amateur wrestlers. They worked their way from the ground up. And they worked hard for everything they got. And they're not with the politics. Scott Steiner was never really with the politics like that. He always was a guy who came in, put in the work, do what he got to do, and leave. Now, I know, contrary to popular belief, I know Scott Steiner, of course, they say was on the juice, as they call it. We know that he went from being, one size when he was with Steiner Brothers to being real huge. But when it comes to Hulk Hogan, he says some things, saying he a POS, saying that he has no love lost. And it's not the first time we heard this about Hulk Hogan. We heard this with Jesse the Body Ventura. We heard this with CM Punk mention something about him. Seth Rollins mentioned something about him. A lot of guys mentioned stuff about Hulk Hogan. The list goes on and on. I believe the late Sid Vicious even said something about Hulk Hogan. But was Scott Steiner wrong for what he said about Hulk Hogan and saying that in an interview? I would say no, he wasn't. He wasn't wrong at all. He had to say what he felt, and I think he hit home with that. There's nothing wrong with Scott Steiner was saying. Just like I say, he doesn't do many interviews. And Scott Steiner, he's very strategic on how he does his interviews. But he's not going to hold anything back. Hulk Hogan, the fact he held Scott Steiner down and tried to prevent him from going down was not cool, Hulk Hogan. Scott Steiner, he had the look and everything. Now, the only thing that brought Scott Steiner down later in his career after WCW folded due to being purchased by WWE, he had a lot of injuries. And that's why his WWE run was not good at all, as many thought it should have been, because he was hit with injuries. And, of course, his body changed and everything. Like he said, he had now injuries brought him down. And he was just not the same Scott Steiner he once was later on in his career. But other than that, though, guys, that's all I have. Why Scott Steiner hates Hulk Hogan. Why Scott Steiner, how he really feels about Hulk Hogan. You guys let me know what you think. Soon check out the content here at Toss and Rain Scandal. Until then, guys, you already know what it is. It's OUT.